Hello, friends. A very warm welcome to you on this wonderful session. Welcome to the session titled Just Be Reflections on Healing and Creativity. Today, we gather not just to discuss writing, but to explore how it becomes a quiet companion when life leaves us aching, confused, or longing for closure. At the heart of a conversation is something that is simple to define but difficult to practice: forgiveness. How do we forgive someone who caused us pain? Can writing, journaling, poetry, or even silent words left unsent help us find peace when conversation fails? Can we turn the rawness of emotional wounds into creative expression and through that something softer, lighter? Our three wonderful panelists for the day. Well, let me introduce you in a word. Are Ambalika, Juhi, and Arpita. Ambalika is from Lucknow and well known in the world of writing, blogging, and podcasting. Juhi is also an executive member of Literary Warriors Group and also has two of her own groups in Pune. And Arpita is from the wonderful city of Lavasa. And of course, all of us are connected through the common thread of writing. So, our three wonderful panelists have walked paths that many of us may relate to: moments of hurt, reflection, and release through the written word. They will share insights and, more importantly, moments from their own lives where writing became healing and forgiveness became possible. Let us listen not only with our ears but with our hearts, because healing, after all, begins with understanding. So, my first question to the panelists: what does forgiveness mean to you, not as an idea, but as a lived experience? My first question is to Ambalika.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I was hoping this one would come to me sometime after everyone else has spoken. It's a tough one. When we hear the word forgiveness, it's quite loaded. And I personally think it's a little hyped up also and a little overused as well. So there is a lot of nobleness associated with this whole idea of forgiveness, and it's generally believed that if you have forgiven, you have done something huge. So the lived experience generally in the minds of people is that it helps you become nobler, as we say in Hindi, no, "Aap bade ban jao," and all. So for me, forgiveness is. Uh, it's no doubt a tough thing, but it is not a mandatory thing. Generally, there's this belief that forgiven. This is advice I have been given by so many people who are not therapists or who have themselves not done it, but they have been very generous enough to share it with me and say, just forgive for your peace of mind. But I think what they're trying to say is radical acceptance of the situation, because sometimes things uh, cannot be just sorted, or the closure cannot be had simply by saying I forgive you. It's an entire process. Like you have mentioned, it's a lived experience, and that experience comes from having been through a process. And this process is two ways. If there is the forgiver, there is also the one to be forgiven. So if both of them are not on the same plane, if they are not meeting each other halfway through, then it doesn't come through. There's no point in forgiving. The whole idea is lost, and it's an incomplete experience for both. So, my experience has been that everyone wants to be forgiven, but there are very few who qualify to be forgiven, and very few who can actually do it so effortlessly. And the reason why I say very few qualify to be forgiven is because forgiveness, the whole idea, the experience comes with a requirement of change in behavior, change in thinking, change in actions. It's not just mere words. So if you just say, I seek your forgiveness, but then I go back to my old ways and continue to behave and think in the way I do, then I'm not doing anybody a favor, including myself. So that's my understanding and my experience of forgiveness.
Wonderful one, Ambalika. So, what are your views, Juhi, on this? Everybody can have different views, huh?
Yeah,
So,
sure.
please be very truthful because we are all on a spiritual journey as we are going through this session.
True. So,
So,
ma'am,
Juhi.
that's the one thing which, like, first of all, I'll give the context when I cannot forgive people. That's dishonesty. So, I don't like it myself. I mean, comfort me with your lie, like, never comfort me with your lies, what I tell people. And that's the, and if forgiveness is to be defined for me, like ma'am said, it's the process, it's the closure, in a manner it doesn't hurt me anymore. In the sense, if the person exists, doesn't exist, we part ways, the person stays in my life. Not everyone can be, the let go of phenomena which is happening and trending. Everyone cannot be, forgiven. Everyone cannot be, disintegrated from your life, I would say. But then there is a closure wherein it doesn't hurt me anymore. So I may forgive, may not forget possibly, but then again, for me it's a closing process. um, there have been, several phases. Again, we are always advocates of our story more, and we become the hero in our own story, and the other person is the protagonist is always the hero. But then maybe if somebody else would define me, they may have challenges, quoting me as a flawed person, and I love to be a flawed person. I love to, meet flawed people. But then yes, forgiveness for me is closure in a way it doesn't hurt me anymore.
That's great. What about you, Arpita?
So for me, I mean, when I look back on my life, because like we all go through a turning point in our life. There's a kind of moment of what you call a moment of catalyst, which happens like when you just start going beyond the experiences in life. And when I did that, and like I realized all the hurt and pain that I had gone through. It was more of, like accepting and first acknowledging that, yes, I did experience pain, I did experience hurt. But I also realized that, there was a little bit of anger towards the self. And I realized I first needed to forgive myself for not being able to stand up for myself. I mean, I allowed the other person to hurt me, to do whatever. And so it's not just about forgiving the other, but I also had to forgive myself first that I could not stand up for myself. And which is why today, when I look at the acronym of, like life, we say life is a word. But if I look at it as an acronym, it's love, inspire, forgive every day. Because I've realized, like ma'am really said, that to forgive is for your peace of mind. And yes, it is for our peace of mind. It's not easy to forget all the pain, but I've also understood that over a period of time it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is to forgive and move on. Thank
So you, like the other two panelists, you've raised a very pertinent point that we have to forgive ourselves first for not standing up. So that's a very interesting word or thinking or a thought, whatever we call it. And moving on from here, why is it so difficult to forgive someone who has caused deep pain? The question is to Juhi.
So to me, it is more to do with, our own ego as well, because, how am I the fool to be, to be undone to what something wrong to me. So I'm not able to forgive because I trusted the person. I made a fool out of myself. So that is a self validation as well, at a level, and it causes pain because we have set expectations. We have constructed a frame that, and there are expectations from certain person, certain role. Sometimes we overload the other person who is not qualified enough to, reciprocate the way we give. So let's say I am a giver, I love a person a lot, and they may not reciprocate the same. So then I'm in shock, I'm in pain. I am, asking them in and myself, how could you? So that how could you causes the pain, I guess, the expectation level which we have set. Or sometimes like we dream, we make a frame for a person when we see them in few seconds, and a personality sketch is drawn, or there are set standards by the social conditioning that ye role hai to person should be this way, and these all traits should be there in a man, in a woman, in a child, or whatever. When the person doesn't behave the ideal way, it causes pain. And you know again, the ideal way is my way, is person's way, how to see it. If it is not wrong for me, then then of course it won't cause pain. But if it is, there is a fixated opinion in my mind against a ritual, or against anything in life, so it causes pain. But then
Great.
again, when we forgive, that process as well takes time. It never happens at once. Even if I say I've forgiven someone, I forgot everything, but then again, later, it causes pain, it comes back as a boomerang. And until the equation is solved, I always call it in a mathematical way, the person will come back to you in different personalities. It will come back to you unless you have, solved that for yourself. So that's a mathematics, I think.
Wonderful. Very well put, Juhi. I really love that point. So, Arpita, what is your take on this? For the audience, I'll just repeat the question. Why is it so difficult to forgive someone who has caused deep pain?
It is difficult because, at the end of it, I mean, we are all human beings. We are made of flesh and blood, and we all experience these emotions of pain, of hurt. And at the end of the day, I mean, with me, my major learning has been that, ghum firke, it all comes back to the self. So, like Julie also mentioned, it's about going beyond the experience. It will keep repeating with me. I will keep going through a similar pain or hurt by different people until and unless I don't learn the lesson of forgiveness or whatever lesson I need to learn. And yes, what becomes important then is to remember the lesson. But yes, incident we cannot forget, the person we cannot forget. It is the attitude that we take towards it. So one is we can say, I forgive, and the other is like, I mean, expressing gratitude that because this person came and did this particular thing, which made me realize that, okay, I have gained an insight out of it. So I think in that way, we'll never ever forget, like, so probably, yeah, that's one reason why we tend to remember this. So
Okay,
it comes down to our own attitude and perception, how we perceive our experiences.
great. So, Arpita says that it depends upon our own experience. What do you think about it, Ambalika?
I think sometimes it is easy to forgive and sometimes it's not. If I can give an example, it's a very popular story. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the author, but it's from many, many years. One of those old age authors, or maybe it's a scientist also. I'm sorry, I'm not able to recollect. But
That's
this
fine.
person had written down the entire manuscript and everything done, and this was many years ago when we didn't have all these fancy devices to store, and it so happened that the pages flew into the fireplace, and that happened because his dog was playing with that pile of papers, and so the whole thing burned up. So all the hard work just literally went up in flames. So definitely there is a valid reason for this person to feel very angry with the dog, but all he said was, "It's okay, you didn't know. I can always try this again." So this for me was really very touching. I mean, like, when I asked myself, I said, "Oh, I'm going to, no matter how much I love this dog and it's my pet, definitely I'm going to be quite upset about it. I'm going to be very angry." But then when I looked at it from the other perspective, that you didn't know, and I was like, "Yeah, that's right. I mean, for the dog, it was not the hard work. It was not a story written. It was nothing creative. It was just something to play with, and that's
So, do
it. The
you
dog
mean to
is."
say, I would just like to just interrupt here. So,
Yeah.
do you mean to say it is easier to forget a dog because the dog doesn't know what it is doing? Whereas if I do the same thing to you, it is very difficult for you to forget or forgive because I could have done something about it and there are my
Yeah.
intents involved.
Yes, exactly. The intent. So I think when we reach that point of wanting to forgive or try to solve something through forgiveness, the first thing that comes to our mind is the intent. And the first thing we think is that, oh, this person had the choice of not doing it. Why didn't they not do it? So there's some kind of a breach of trust, and the lesson not being able to get conveyed. And there's a lot of tumult over there happening, push and pull happening. So I think when in certain situations, when these kinds of complications come in, that's when it becomes very difficult to forgive. Otherwise, I think it's very easy. For example, no mother or parent is going to be angry with a 6-month-old baby because they know that it can't do any better. But with a 16-year-old, definitely we are going to have a different approach to it. So I
Yeah.
think it's context
So,
here.
intent is very important. So, now let us change the course of this conversation after this question. And I would like to, uh, I would like all my panelists to tell the audience what is your standing in the world of literature. Like, what all have you done in the world of literature? Arpita, just in 2 lines, you have to answer this question.
So, in the world of literature, I have written poems, songs, stories, and a whole lot of thoughtful quotes. That's all
Wonderful,
that I've done.
wonderful. Wonderful. And what about you, Ambalika?
I have written 4 books, primarily into prose. I've done both fiction and non-fiction.
Juhi.
So I call myself Padhne Likhne Wali. So it always starts with reading. I've written a solo poetry book and a lot many books I've contributed to, wherein I've been an editor, translator, and my objective is to bring back lost forms of poetry to today's world. So that's going in Hindi and English both.
So, dear audience, the panelists here are all excelling in their field, and I've known them do that. I've seen them grow, most of the panelists. So, they are wonderfully known in their own world too. So, with that comes my next question. The question is directed to Arpita. How has the act of writing, where consciously or subconsciously, helped you move closer to forgiveness?
Okay, so like I said, when experiencing the pain and hurt and the other emotions that come up along with it, anger included, it led me to take long walks in nature. And I believe that nature nurtures. And after a long walk, when you just sit under a tree and you're just silent, you're focusing on your breath, somewhere the insights just come from nature. And that's how, like, the birds just flow. I mean, I remember this particular walk down the stream where, so the title of the poem was The Walk. And what happened was, that the ripple of waves just coming, it just felt as though, like, it was coming towards me. There was nobody around, but it was just there to embrace me, comfort me, soothe me.
My
And
question
it
is a
felt,
bit different, Arpita. My question is, how has writing helped you in forgiving?
yeah, precisely. So these were things, the insights which came, I put them down in poems. And then when I would look at the poems, because there was another poem I wrote on pain, which spoke about, like, let the pain come and go, but we need to first acknowledge the pain. So that's how my writing helped
Do
me
you mean
to
to
release.
say, do you mean to say the thoughts come to you, the thoughts of writing as they are coming in parallel with what you are thinking, with your forgiveness process?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yes,
That's
because
wonderful.
I am totally with the emotion that I'm going through. And then when you take that moment of pause, reflection, that's when like the words just flow like.
Excellent, excellent, Arpita. Thank you so much. So
And
now my next question, the same question is directed to Ambalika. We can't hear you,
Actually,
Ambalika. Yeah,
am I
yeah,
audible? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, for me, writing has been quite separate from this whole process of forgiving and all of that. The only role writing has played in getting closer to forgiveness is when I have journaled after I have overcome something which was very difficult to forgive. So, per se, creative writing has not brought me in any place closer to forgiving myself or forgiving anybody else. But I have noticed that once I have overcome that obstacle, which is stopping me from experiencing forgiveness or forgiving, my creative expression improved. So that's how it has been.
Did it give you closure, a final closure, or it had nothing to do
Uh,
with it?
Closure in the sense that जो बीत गई सो बात गई. I mean, it happened. There's nothing much I
You
can
could
do
see
about it.
it, you could
Yeah.
see it just as some thing which happened in the past,
Yes.
and you could. Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
still don't like it. I'm still upset about it. I wish it was very different and I didn't have to go through it. But it is what it is. So I might as well, channelize my energy into something else. So
That's
that's how
great.
it has.
That's great. So you found a form in writing to channelize your energy.
You could say that in a reverse way.
Okay, okay. Wonderful, wonderful. What about you, Juhi?
Definitely. I mean, that has been my way of, way through the process. One of the classic way of me forgiving myself and the person, because after all, you cannot, hurt a writer. They would bury you in a poem or a prose or whatever forever. So, and they would defame you in a way you will not be able to tell that they have confronted you. So when there are people who left, they're not anymore in touch with me in life, but they're surely in my poems, and they would definitely be there. So एक हिंदी I had written, like, साही के घाव सहती चुपचाप डायरी. So that was for me, that you need to take that घाव to write a good poem. So whenever a writer is hurt, it's good for them because they can write better, like ma'am said. So yeah, they have. So writing has been definitely the way through. It has been therapeutic. uh, it has nurtured me well. And then you can rationalize, because the moment I write a poem and share with the people who are my victims, all of you, so then they read, and some of you comment as well that ye to mere sath bhi hua hai and it has happened with me. So then I am somewhere relaxed that yes, I'm not the only one getting hurt. There are all people over there who have been hurt as well the same way, and so that they could relate with the emotion. So writing has been the way to forgiveness. It has helped. And then I could rational, I mean, the thought, the situation, the person, the place, everything. You sometimes hate a city, that the city did wrong to me, whereas city doesn't know it did wrong to you.
Yeah, it is so, it is not even having any life, but it does
Yeah,
have its life, it has its
yeah,
vibe. So
yeah,
sometimes you begin to feel ki it has hurt me, and you don't
yeah,
want to go there. So
yeah,
yes, it is all in the mind, it is in our minds also sometimes, and
yeah,
sometimes it's a real incident.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
was just reading one day ki a mother is different to all her children. Like to the first child, she may be different. To the second child, she may be different. To the third child, she may be different because she is also undergoing changes, and her changes reflect in you. So she is writing her story in a different way in the minds of all her children. So now let us move on to the next question, which is addressed to Ambalika first. Do you believe writing offers a private space where we can say the unsaid?
Yeah, definitely. Like Juhi was mentioning earlier, like some people find appearances in her poems, and I think she already answered that for all of us, at least for me, in that. So
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
it is definitely a private space. When you're doing fiction, definitely, whether it is in the form of a story or a play or a poem, it gives that privacy to uh, to just pour out unfiltered whatever you want to in the shape of any number of characters, in the form of any number of
Yeah,
characters
like
at
you
any.
can, while burning Ravan, you can burn many more people.
Yeah, all the novels that you do in this lifetime and possible from previous lifetimes also, if you remember. So yeah,
You may have
I
Ravans
have,
in your life in this life also, so you can burn them.
yes, yes. I had come
And burn
across this.
all the 10 heads.
Tenets, yeah, yeah. And sometimes we feel that I have felt that the Ravans I know have more than 10 heads. So, it's quite fascinating. Therein, I think you get energized to give your creativity more wings than it deserves sometimes, that happens. And
Great, great, great.
yeah,
I
and the
love
thing
this
is,
answer.
yeah. And what happens is, after a point, however, it doesn't remain private anymore because you have to release it in public and people have to read. And then therein you have a little bit of, you are a little apprehensive about how they are going to receive it. But so far, the going has been good. So yes, in creative writing, it is. And I was just thinking about this earlier today, and I felt that even in non-fiction, it is quite true. Fiction mein to we have to create the character and then we have that freedom to paint them in whatever we have experienced, but in non-fiction it is like you can sometimes come across exactly the person you wanted to be, or you wanted the other person to be. uh, the persons that you dreamt of, you are actually coming across them in non-fiction. So it works both ways, and sometimes what I have felt is the sense of gratitude that, oh, what I'm feeling now, somebody felt it 100 years ago. So, and in a much more wider scope of things. So then it feels like a life lesson, and then there is a lot of relief, and things take, like you have truly said at the start of the session, it takes a spiritual flow to it. So that's been my
Thank you,
experience.
Ambalika. So, the question to you, Juhi, and for the viewers who have just joined, the question is: do you believe writing offers a private space where we can say the unsaid? Juhi.
Yes, yes. I mean, without a second thought, most definitely, because writing or any artistic form offers you a private space where you can just be you, like the topic of our conversation is, and you don't have to kind of describe, or you don't have to justify it anywhere, because it's your private space. You paint it red, blue, pink, whatever, and you can vent out anger, you can vent out any other emotion, pain or love or anything, because sometimes that's the characteristic. So yes, writing does that to you. So it's a lot of unsaid things. So people say that when the status is deleted in less than 24 hours, it means the target has seen it. So I believe in it.
I had put up a status. "Ki whatever problems you have, you put it on your status, and it will get deleted in 24 hours." So, Arpita, what are your views?
Writing definitely is the space to put forward everything unsaid, because if we don't put it on paper, what is going to happen is it's going to go on churning over here in the mind. I will say this and he will say that or she will say that, and that dialogue continues over here, and which is not good for me, not good for people around me, because the mind is totally like consumed by it. But when I put it down on paper, it's out, released, done, and closed. So writing
Great.
is the space to put it forward.
Great. So, this panel discussion would be incomplete if my panelists don't share at least one example of either yourself or someone around you where you could forgive the person, and what was the way in which you could really forgive. So, my question is first directed to Juhi.
Okay, ma'am. So I would then quote about my school life. So, as any teenager, when I was, taking a turn from 12 to 13, so I had to change my school because we relocated our residence. And I was doing fantastic in my first school, of course. There was belongingness, there were friends, and complete change going through, physically going through it, and mentally going through it because I was turning into a teen. I had my own things going on, cycles of things. And when the school changed, I had to face bullies because I was new to the environment. There was later they could not become friends, I would say, but then they were bullies into that new environment. And I like somehow, like, people know that, people who know me, they know that I have been an academic topper always. But then I would confess on this forum that I failed my weekly test that year, very year. And it was surprising, shocking, unnerving for my mother, so who has always been that mom who would insist on getting a 90. When you said that mother is always a different one, so I'm the eldest daughter, the victim of the experiments. So and the loved and pampered child, of course. So I could understand her now, because that time for her, her child failing a weekly test was a shock, because she couldn't relate that I've got her to the best school possible. She's cleared everything. She attempted the entrance test, and that was an expensive school to be with, but then the environment wasn't suitable for me. So I could now forgive my parents, set of parents, because father was not much pushy towards my studies. Mom was, and whatever I am today is because of her. But then that time I couldn't, forgive those people around me. There was a pain. I couldn't express myself because I was becoming a teen. I was going through my own changes, coming home, dealing with so many things physically, mentally. So I didn't really wish to go to school. That was rarest of situation I have faced. So now I have, processed. I have been through my Zen mode now. So I laugh at it now
How did
sometimes.
you how could
Yeah,
you forget the situation, because this situation is so common and that time we feel ki this is happening only to me, but
yeah.
I don't think there's anybody who has not been bullied in life. Like, I was also bullied.
Hmm.
I was also bullied, and I was bullied for not being very rich, and my school was a class conscious school.
Mhm.
So I would be made fun of. I would be
Mhm.
asked, which movie did you watch? And they would be watching Love Story, and I would be watching Payal Ki Jhankar, and they would make fun of me. So, like, it happens with everybody. It happened with my daughter also, because I am in a transferable job. So my daughter would keep changing schools, and in every new school, this kind of thing would happen initially. So,
Yeah.
how could you forget this or forgive this?
So, so obviously, for one bad person, there are 10 good people, and I'm blessed with many of them. I had a great support system. Finally, I could confront myself and the other people. They were friends, they were teachers, and I'm still connected to them. So my the one good part of that school was I got my Hindi teacher who nurtured in me the Hindi, I write, and she was with me in during lunch hours. I slowly dealt with. I accepted the situation that I need to be in this school. After 2 years, we changed because of other reasons, but I could deal with it when I could face my fears. That not going won't help. Escaping the sports activity or any other activity wherein there are other people whom I do not like or they don't like me won't help. I could face them that time, and now again writing helped. I had my own journey when I made a certain name, or I could validate myself that acha, you have done something in life. Forget everything, and time is a good best
So
healer.
they
I
stayed
still have
on
my
with
friends.
you. The memory
Yeah,
stayed on and on with you till you could really come to terms with it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
accepted it and
yeah.
you either wrote about it or spoke about it, something like that.
Something like that. Whenever I confronted it, it got resolved. Like
Okay.
it will be an unending loop if it was in my head, like who said what and what happened to me. And there was villain in me, which when somebody else who had hurt me got hurt, I was happy. We all are that way, I guess. That's how so this is karma for you. But then again, now I realize even that is bad for me to
Yeah,
see somebody getting hurt. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that this is a journey and this continues, and like you learn many things at different stages of life. So, Arpita, could you tell us something of which happened and which was very difficult for you to forgive, and how did you finally forgive it?
Okay. All
Or you
right.
could never
So,
forget, or you could never forgive it. Both the things are possible.
okay. So she spoke about school. Let me take it to the next level, which is uh, college and a little after college. It's all about the first love, the first relationship. And then you get dumped really bad. You're dumped, you're rejected. And that pain, that hurt, that anger, it is not easy to get over at all. And I know it was a very painful time at which I went through. But what happened was five or 6 years later, after I mean, we parted ways. This person tries to track me down because by then I had also shifted residences, and he managed to track me down and he said, just once I would like to meet you. And I was like, I mean, there isn't anything that I wish to say, or everything's done and over. I don't wish to meet. But I realized that he had the need to meet, and his thing was to ask forgiveness because somewhere he said he could not forget. I mean, I had actually moved on with my life. I had my own turning points, and it was all done and over. But when he came back, and then he was, here I am in front of you. You can abuse me, you can hit me, whatever, throw your anger. And I realized that I just didn't want to do anything of that kind. And that's when he also shared that he was actually going through a divorce and he needed a support. By then I was volunteer with the astra, like for the suicide and depressed. So I said, okay, all right, I can be there as a friend. And where the realization came was when he actually went through that divorce that day in the court. At the end of the day, like when he sent an email which said that, no matter what we went through, like meaning he and his wife, but he said that moment of separation was tough for both of them. And he said, she cried, I cried. And his wife asked him that, can you be a friend even though we part ways? And he said, Arpita, I remember that what I received from you, and that is how I learned to be a friend. And I told her, yes, I can be a friend to you. And that's when I realized that, what we give out is so, so important. If that day, like, if I had to really throw back anger at him and give him all that abusive, I don't know what he would have given his wife when she asked for that friendship. So I think it was, a major lesson learned in
But
forgiving.
how could you forgive him? Means what went on in these 5 or 6 years that made you forgive
Yes,
him?
so it took me time. I'm not saying that, it was easy. Like I said, it took almost like, maybe like two years,
What was the
3 years.
process?
And
What
yes, so
was
the
the process?
process in it was, like I just mentioned earlier, because it was during that time that I'd also lost my mom. And so I was going through a total emotional turmoil when it was not just the loss, the grief, but all these past experiences came back like, a kind of a deluge for me. And that was a time when I think most of these major life experiences of mine, I literally went beyond the experience. And that's when I was taking these walks. That's when I was getting those insights. And that's how I came about writing those poems. So that was my process.
Hats off to you, Arpita. And kudos for starting this circle. And also kudos for starting that mission of helping people, those who feel suicidal, because very few people think that way. And nowadays, nobody helps each other. We pass each other, at the most say a hi, or sometimes even don't do that. So in this world, helping each other means a lot. Thank you from all of us.
Thank you.
So, Ambalika, what would you like to share on this panel discussion today?
For that, Arpita ji, thank you so much. Your narration and the experience you've shared has been so powerful. Thank you so much. The first thought that came to my mind was the interconnectedness of consciousness and how this forgiveness it really flows through. Thank you so much. And I think members of our audience have also expressed the same sentiment. So really leaves me speechless. Nevertheless, I would also like to share. Mine is from my college days. A little bit similar to Juhi's experience. It was a college I didn't want to go through and very hostile environment. Uh, 4 years of graduation, there was no way I could expect any kind of help, academic help from the batch I was with. Initially, I was very angry about the whole situation. I did not want to be in that college. I didn't want to be with that subject. I didn't want to be in that group. Everything against me. But after maybe a year or two, I made my peace with it, and I was like, ठीक है अब ये ऐसे हैं, I am like this and let it be. Then I remember the last day of college. It's like last day of 4 years course done. No chance of any one of us ever running into each other again unless we are working in the same office. In my case, that didn't happen. This girl walks up to me, very scared. She used to sit next to me. For 4 years, she sat right next to me. And she was always very cheerful. Yeah, I was going through a depression, my own journey of depression, but she was always very cheerful, and nothing about me seemed to have had any effect on her. And I was like, I was okay with that. But on that last day, the thing reversed. She was full of grief, and literally there were tears waiting to roll down her cheeks. And she came up to me and she said, I want to talk to you in private. And I got the shock of my life. I was like, wow, what? I mean, what remains? I mean, there's nothing to talk. And she was like, no, 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 there is something I really need to tell you. And I was like, okay. And then she started crying. I was like, why are you crying? And then she said, I'm sorry. And I was like, for what? And then she said that, for 4 years, every single day, I knew that I'm not helping you. I'm not being a friend to you. I have seen you go through pain, but I didn't help you. I didn't share any notes with you. I didn't give you any kind of help because I knew that if I do that, you will score more than me. And eventually, even though we or none of us didn't help you, you still managed to score more than us. So I am sorry. And I was sort of shocked. And then she said, "Will you forgive me?" And for a minute, I was puzzled. I was like, uh, I have this option to not forgive her. I was 21. I did not have much idea about this whole thing. Then I thought about it for a minute and then I said, listen, I understand why you did it. Because for you, scoring high is a big matter in life. It's not just something that's going to help you get a campus placement. Your married life, your entire future depends on how you score in all these semesters of these 4 years. So, what you did was perfectly right from your point of view. And why didn't any one of you have to even care about me? I was never part of your gang, never similar to you in any way. So if you didn't feel connected to me and you didn't feel any need for it, that's fine. And I think I went a little bit rude with my frankness when I said that, it's your culture. And that's fine. Your culture is very transactional, mine is not. So that's fine. You don't have to worry about my forgiveness. And she was like, "So you forgive me?" And she was so happy. And I said, I don't know whether you should be happy or what, but just don't cry and don't think that you did anything wrong because certainly we were not on the both not on the same path. So there is no scope for any kind of ill feelings. So I didn't realize it at that time, but many, many years later, when I underwent my therapy, that time while doing working on something else, this incident came to my mind and I was actually quite impressed with myself that whoa, uh, at 21 I managed to think like this and say wow, I must be amazing. So I think unknowingly there is a part of us, which is I think the higher self. It comes to our rescue and tells us exactly the right thing to do because the higher self knows what the like the interconnectedness of consciousness. आगे क्या होना है हमसे, अच्छा जो होने वाला है हमसे हमारे through. It enables it. Even if our ego comes in the way, it just somehow makes it through. So that has been my experience.
So this has been
Thank
such a wonderful conversation, and I suppose we'll have to have a part two of it because such insights of life. We are generally talking on the page only about writing, about our accomplishments, but each person has some flaws, and each person goes through some difficulties of life. So, accepting those difficulties, those flaws is also very important. And that is how we can move ahead. Sometimes we can forget but not forgive. Sometimes we can forgive but not forget. Sometimes we can forgive as well as forget. So, life takes us through different paths, but certainly some form of creativity, maybe arts, maybe painting, maybe doing something else, dancing. I see Ambalika's reels of dancing, wonderful dancing. So something or the other comes out, and we divert our mind. And that is not actually forceful diversion. Maybe it may start that way, but those things start giving us more peace to the uh, different difficult times we've had and what we don't want to remember. We start finding joy in our creativity, and we become happy individuals spreading gaiety around. I'm sure I want to have a part two of this discussion someday. So, but today has been a very wonderful panel discussion, and we've had a lot of wonderful audience. Rupa Rao has been there throughout. Rashmi Sable had joined. Anita Panta had joined, and so many of them could relate to your experiences. Satinder ji was there for a long time, Mukesh Gurjar ji was there, Prasanna was there for some time, Aparna Pradhan di was there, Anup Pandey was there. So lot of people joined us, Purna, Gayatri Joshi, Anup Jalan. So thank you, viewers. Please keep sharing your input so that we can have a wonderful session. And this will have a part two. So I expect questions from you on my DM so that we can fix a date, maybe 1 month later, maybe 2 months later. But we would continue this discussion. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
dear
much. Yeah.
audience.
Thank
If
you.
you would like to
Everything was there.
wish our audience something, bye bye. Okay, bye bye, audience. Thank you.
Bye.